We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
This crusade, this war on terrorism, is going to take a while.
We came, we saw, we died.
We tortured some folks.
Yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty.
And we are clear. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's episode 33 of Dave versus Goliath. Truly appreciate you being here with us. If you are checking us out, make sure to share the links for the show. That really helps out the old algorithms there. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, leave a nice review for your boy to get the average up. And if you're watching right now on YouTube, I really appreciate you. Thanks for being here. And don't forget, episode 24 is still and forever gone from YouTube, and you can only find it on Odyssey because we did not speak of World Health Organization approved alternative facts. So if you want that, go to Odyssey to check out the interview with Dr. Irene Mavrikakis. And also, don't forget, I can't stream to Facebook for another 2 weeks for that 60-day sentence that I'm currently serving, and also a permanent Twitter ban. So it's been rough. Help your boy out. But tonight, guys, we have a really great show. I have a friend and a fucking genius, if I might say, who's going to kind of come in here and he's going to drop some knowledge on us. And I'm excited about it. But before we get to him, I'm going to bring in my BFF, my brother from another mother, my main man, Dan. What's happening, dog? Good to see you, dude.
Good to see you, man. Happy to be here.
Good to be with you, bro. And yeah, we got a friend tonight. I feel like, everybody's, we're practically strangers when people come on, but a little bit different tonight. We got a pal.
My friend from the before time.
This is really the craziest part of the story. We'll talk a little bit about that from the before times. Yeah, you've known him longer than anybody. I met him last year at Liberty Speaks when he was on his American year-long tour. He is a coach and a therapist at beyourselfandloveit.com. He's the host of the Scottish Liberty podcast. He is an economics journalist for the Mises Institute and the author of Universal Basic Income, For and Against. Ladies and gentlemen, the great and powerful Antony Sammeroff. Antony, what's up, buddy?
I'm feeling great. And
good, man.
I'm feeling powerful. So This is the first time I've done a show in months. I've been in Scotland since, I can't even remember if it was the beginning of April or the beginning of May, but I've just not done any shows. So I think I've done one show since I've come back, and that was near the beginning. So this is like my epic return to the universe of online podcasting. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
It's an honor, man. Yeah, I'm glad you're finally making your triumphant return to the circuit. And yeah, we're happy that you're here, brother.
Yeah, this is Antony Sammeroff version 2.0, I think.
I was going to say, I've never heard you be so sweet.
I'm not really that sweet in person. I had a really great experience actually when I went to Childerberg Festival. I can't even remember the date now. It was last year, wasn't it? Yeah. And there was a bunch of the young libertarians, the podcasters and stuff, and they'd only heard me on Tom Woods and stuff like that. And somehow they got the impression that I was this like buttoned up academic guy. So when they met me in person and realized I was a shit poster just like them, they were like, oh my God, this dude's the shit. Like, wow, he's a real asshole in a good way. And I was like, yeah. Okay, this is the side of me that the world needs to really know. You guys know that because we've hung out in person. It was not just a great privileged to meet you, Dave, at Liberty Speaks, but then we got to hang out a whole bunch of times, and it means a lot to be on your show at last. Episode 33, in numerology, Freemasonry, the number of the master builder, I believe. So we're going to master build on this show.
Yeah, and I titled the show out of order, or excuse me, from chaos order. So I think that this is really great. We're going to tie in everything. I like the big picture things. And I hit you up a few days before the show and asked you what you wanted to talk about, and you just said, let's kind of freestyle and talk about what's going on. And I like that. It's usually what Dan and I do around here anyway. So we're definitely going to talk about your book and what you're up to, but I kind of just want to poke around and see what you think the state of the world is like today. So let's start with 9/11, man. What do you think about that?
Yes, 9/11, when the US government removed the democratically elected government of Chile and backed the coup of Pinochet on September the 11th. That's the September the 11th we're talking about, right?
They love to keep running the numbers back, don't they?
Crazy. Yeah, so they helped Pinochet into power. 9/11, 2001, the year the world changed forever. I think it would be fair to say that our adult life has been defined by 9/11, although people forget that, because if it wasn't for 9/11, then we wouldn't have had the war on terror. And if we hadn't had the war on terror, that just really set the stage for a lot of other infringements of the expansion of the role that people expected the government to play in our lives. Apart from declaring war, the intervention into civil liberties. In America, the Patriot Act. Here in the UK, we had the Labour government, who were meant to be left-wing, introducing things like detainment without trial. They wanted to push for 60 days detainment without trial. They weren't able to do that. They wanted to introduce a ID card, a mandatory ID card in the UK, and they weren't able to do that. But they did infringe on a lot of liberties. And it's kind of like the beginning of what was considered the left, moving in the UK at least, moving away from being civil libertarian to being against civil liberties. So it's really weird, because when I was on the left was all about peace and love, and also fuck the government, and the kind of whole political spectrum has been kind of like turned like into
it's definitely being reconfigured.
Did they also, is that like at the same time here? That's interesting. I wanted to know how that affected you guys over there as well too. But is that also when they kind of switched to the kind of pro-foreign interventionist kind of policies as well? Did you guys do that too?
For sure. And it's quite interesting because, when we invaded Iraq the first time, the first Gulf War under George H.W. Bush, it was the Conservative government, the Conservative Party were in power in the UK, and a lot of the Labour Party were against that intervention, and then that all really, and many of the people who were against the first war in Iraq, because they were in the Labour Party and the Conservative Party was in power, were fervently in favour of the second war in Iraq, which is really weird. But it's not really weird when you think that maybe it wasn't really so much based on principle, but just basic partisanship on relating to who was in power and how it related to them. I know a lot of Americans don't know this stuff. Why would they? It's not that interesting unless you're like a geek like us. Can you still hear me?
Muted.
Oh, I'm not
Sorry,
muted.
guys. No, I'm sorry. I just was saying that there's three of us here. All of us, I think, at some point of our lives, identified as on the left. And at some point, I definitely did. I think Dan did. You just said you did. But I don't know, maybe around 2004 to 2007 here, leading up to Barack Obama, I mean, we had a pretty strong anti-war left civil libertarian culture. And it took Barack Obama to kind of flatten that.
Yes.
That's when the identity politics kind of took over from that.
Yeah, and it was a slow creep but it was like an exponential curve. I remember a friend of mine asking me maybe 10 years ago my views on kind of feminism from that view, and I was like, I think it's kind of like an 80s thing that is kind of big in the universities because a lot of people there graduated during the 80s, but I think it's kind of like quite a lot less relevant now. Boy, the fuck was I wrong. You know, I was wrong. It became more relevant than ever. That just shows how naive I was. But yeah, I mean, when I first became a libertarian around 2007 to 2009, I definitely felt like I was more at home on the left, or like had more in common than the left at that time, because the right was associated with Bush. So that's changed a lot. That's changed a lot. But I'm not like, I've never really considered myself. I prefer the framing of libertarianism as neither left nor right. And some people come at you and say, that's really good messaging for like 2012. But I think it's the best way to message it, because you're kind of going, look, you guys need us because this is what you've got, left and right. And if the government doesn't smack you in the face with the left fist, they'll smack you in the face with the right fist. Do you know what I mean? So you need to get the hell away from them and come over to this other thing, which is far more in your interests and in most people's interests. But I guess people quite like to tack themselves onto a bigger movement, and there's a lot of desire to like identify on the right. But I don't think that right has ever been libertarian historically, at least what's been considered to be the right. People try and redefine the political spectrum to suit themselves and go, well, if I make the political spectrum mean this, then I can put myself on the right. But that's just got no historical grounding to it. I mean, it's kind of like being right wing has always been associated with authoritarianism. So I don't know why people have such a boner to put themselves on the right, just because. Why would you like to be defined in life by what you disagree with? Like, I know that I'm not on the left. I know that, but that doesn't necessarily make me on the right. Like, because
I think it's just the response, though, like,
it's
and
reaction.
justifiably so. The disgust for the left is so so prevalent that they kind of bounce over to the right more. Like, even libertarian, I see that happening now too. It's just, how far away can I get from that side? You know?
And I understand that. But here's the thing: when the left was on the back foot and they were in the minority and the institutions were against them, they were more libertarian. And then as they've become the prevailing force, they're more authoritarian. And it's the same with the right. They're more libertarian now that they're on the back foot. When they controlled the institutions, they were on the right, they were more authoritarian. And if they ever get to control the institutions again, you'll see they'll fast become very authoritarian, because it's just a principle, which is, when I'm weak, I ask you for my freedom because that's in line with my values. And when I'm strong, I take away your freedom because that's in line with my values.
The pendulum definitely has swung, and I think that the Democrats and the Republicans use the political axis to manipulate people's cultural preferences. So when we say left and right, it's like, I understand what you mean by saying, whatever, two wings of the same bird, or the duopoly, or whatever. But I think, like, when I hear left, like, when I would have considered myself on the left, it was because of cultural preferences, not because of liberal Democrat policies, right? And so I can understand that now, while people are more concerned with family and whatever conservative values, maybe that seems more appropriate at this point. But I got one good story here. I thought we might check out a new one about the 9/11 story, and it's about Guantanamo Bay and what they're doing with the guys who were locked up in there. So if you don't mind, we're going to take a quick peek at this, and I'm going to get your thoughts. If you want me to pause it or any time, or you want to comment, just go ahead.
Good morning, Tony. CBS News has confirmed that military prosecutors and defense attorneys are negotiating potential plea deals that could take the death penalty off the table for the 5 defendants accused in the 9/11 attacks.
He was living his dream.
Pilot Charles Burlingame was more than a war hero to his family, who affectionately called him Chick.
Yeah, here he is.
Before the anniversary, his sister, Deborah Burlingame, shared his story at New York's 9/11
Okay, so he's a war hero. Just remember that.
memorial.
He was really our touchstone. And he still is.
On 9/11, al-Qaeda terrorists took over Burlingame's American Airlines Flight 77, slamming it into the Pentagon.
Allegedly.
We didn't have remains for weeks. We were constantly saying to each other, what would Chick want? What would Chick do?
But her grief has turned to anger
I was outraged.
after learning a potential plea deal is under discussion for the 5 9/11 defendants held at this military base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, including Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the self-described architect of 9/11.
You're in touch with other 9/11 families. Do they feel the same way?
The families are outraged, and they don't want closure, they want justice.
But another group, September 11th, Families for Peaceful Tomorrows, believes a plea deal could deliver some measure of judicial finality.
All 5 defendants and the government are all engaged in good faith negotiations with the idea of bringing this trial, which has become a forever trial, to an end.
Lawyer James Cannell's team represents 9/11 defendants.
Look at this Muslim fundamentalist right here. Keep on cruising.
Ammar al-Baluchi.
He's willing to plead guilty to a substantial sentence at Guantanamo in exchange for a guarantee of medical care and dropping the death penalty.
So if you promise not to kill me, I'll say whatever you want.
And if you promise to stop torturing me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many years has that been? It's not surprising.
Yeah.
Before their transfer to Guantanamo Bay in 2006, the 5 9/11...
Look at these guys. I'm sorry, but I feel like certainly this guy right here and this guy right here would be great spies. You could probably go a lot of places, but let's keep going.
defendants were held by the CIA and interrogated.
So before, we had this really great place set up to, you know, give people enhanced interrogation. The CIA just had them and didn't know what to do with them.
Critics call the extreme tactics torture.
The one that has had perhaps the most lasting physical impact was what they called walling.
Alka Pradhan is a human rights attorney for the 9/11 defense team.
He had told us that his head was bashed against a wall repeatedly until he saw sparks and fainted.
Nearly 3,000 people died on 9/11. Is it right to take the death penalty off the table?
The United States government failed all of us.
We really do have just like a revenge culture. Well, you heard the newscaster lady. A lot of people were killed. I mean, we should be, you know, cracking some skulls, right? And just like you said, dude, you would pretty much do whatever you had to do to get out of there. You'd say whatever you had to say, which is probably the purpose of this facility, is to just get them to say stuff that they need them to say.
Yeah.
They obviously don't need it to be true. That's irrelevant. Just say it.
After September 11th, in their decisions to use illegal techniques and illegal programs. In doing so, irrevocably corrupted any legal process that could have taken place.
A spokesman for the military trials did not answer our questions, but confirmed the parties are currently engaged in preliminary plea negotiations, citing recent court filings.
I will not have closure as long as there is any possibility for some future president to commute their sentences or trade them away.
Charles.
I don't trust this lady. I'm sorry. But why are you so concerned about a future president who might commute a sentence, meaning that they just can't get the death penalty? They'll still be in prison forever and ever and ever. But that's not good enough. I don't know.
Chick Burlingame was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery.
I do believe that forgiveness is more powerful than love, but it's earned. They never will have that. If a plea
Forgiveness is... Oh, man.
I mean, how can you earn forgiveness when you're locked up in some hellhole for an indeterminate amount of time? Like,
you know,
what they have to... First of all, have they actually been found guilty of anything?
No. And that's the thing. Dan and I have talked about this, and we're big fans of Monica Perez's show, The Propaganda Report. And she theory is that this place, Guantanamo Bay, is where they take the guys that they can't put on trial because they can't give away position. They're the ones that they don't know what to do with. It's either you got to off them or hold them somewhere indefinitely. So we're not going to watch the rest of this video. It's stupid. But that's the idea is like, I think with this trial, the end of it is going to be that this place will stay open for forever so that they can do this forever.
But yeah, and you have to understand the purpose of a Guantanamo Bay from the perspective of the regime. It's like a weather balloon. It's like, right, we'll create this little facility here and we'll put it in the public eye and we'll see how much people give a shit. If they're like, rah, this is intolerable, then we'll just keep that one open. But if they're like, yeah, it seems pretty good, we've got that thing, then we can open a few more of them. Like, you know, I don't know about you guys, but we went out to protest against the war in Iraq. And it's like, people rightly point out we weren't able to stop the war in Iraq. We weren't able to stop the war in Afghanistan. But they were really rearing to go to war in Iran as well. So based on the amount of outrage and protest on the war in Iraq, they figured out that they couldn't go to war in Iran. But, you know, if people didn't give a shit, then they would have gone on to invade Iran as well. So they need to put these feelers out to like take the public temperature of what people are willing to tolerate. We've not heard of Guantanamo Bay for years and years. Now they're putting it in the media. They can get a kind of sense of how people feel about it and whether they can institute more punitive policies in future or whether they'll just have to keep at it about the same level that it is now until further notice.
That's how I think they placated him in the beginning. You remember Obama's first term when he was campaigning, that was like kind of one of his bullet points was he was going to close Guantanamo Bay. And I think because that was when it started to bubble up a little bit and he ran on that. Yeah. And then he didn't do it and everybody forgot about it.
I was still enough of a statist at that point to go, well, okay, if he's going to stop the wars and go after George Bush and close Guantanamo, that was definitely enough for me in 2007.
Right. But he didn't do any of those things. I mean,
he definitely did not.
He said that he was going to reduce the number of nuclear weapons in the world and like fucking massively increased the U.S. arsenal of nuclear weapons. There's not like a single thing that he really he was so radical in the campaign trail and pretty much reneged on everything. In fact, those who did apologetics for Obama were basically setting the stage for Trump. I mean, as much as they hate Trump, they're like, well, you know, Obama can do whatever he wants and renege on all his campaign promises because he's on our side. And if he wants more power in the executive branch, well, we'll just kind of ignore that. And that power that he accumulated to the executive branch is exactly what Trump used to do all the things that he did, which the left didn't like. So, I mean, it's kind of like digging your own grave, really.
Dude, absolutely. And I've often said that there's no way we could have had a Trump presidency without 9/11. That just...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You know, a direct line. Insanity. Let's see here. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely, 21 years later, still pissed at George W. Bush.
For a fact that he's poisoned his own people. He doesn't believe in the worth of each individual. We must do everything we possibly can to stop the terror. Now watch this drive.
Mr. Bush, when are you going to apologize for the million Iraqis that are dead because you lied? You lied about weapons of mass destruction. You lied about connections to 9/11. You lied about Iraq being a threat. You sent me to Iraq. You sent me to Iraq in 2003. My friends are dead. Joshua Brazil. You killed people. You lied. You lied about WMD. A million Iraqis are dead because you lied. My friends are dead because you lied. You need to apologize. Apologize.
The tyrant has fallen, and Iraq is free.
Whew.
Who made that?
That shit gets me fired up. I don't know, somebody on the internet, but every once in a while, I just got to throw it out there because I'm not over it. Motherfucker, I'm not over George Bush. Fuck that guy sitting in his basement drawing paintings up so he doesn't want to fucking kill himself.
Maybe he should go to Guantanamo Bay.
It's probably for the best. I agree, buddy. I'll tell you what. There's a guy out there who was trending on Twitter today. I don't know if you guys caught that, but he always has some good things to say. Let's see here.
Justice across the entire world. I do not think it's effective. I think it drums up more anti-American hostility more than it achieves justice.
It has nothing to do with national security. Matter of fact, our national security is more jeopardized by permitting this to happen because we're liable to start a war. We're liable to have our military men killed. We're liable to have more attacks on us by terrorists.
I didn't even know that our government was talking about this stuff in 1998. I mean, I was only 17. I probably shouldn't have known, but I had no idea.
Our foolish policy in Iraq invites terrorist attacks against U.S. territory and incites the Islamic fundamentalists against us. Our foreign policy of military interventionism has brought us death and destruction to many foreign lands and loss of life for many Americans. From Korea and Vietnam to Serbia, Iran, Iraq, and now Afghanistan, we have ventured far from our shores in search of wars to fight. There is no evidence that this policy serves the interests of world peace. It certainly increases the danger to all Americans as we become the #1 target of terrorists. Our arrogant policy and attitude of superiority will continue to elicit a smoldering hatred toward us, and out of sheer frustration will motivate even more terrorist attacks against us.
Man.
Tell you what.
How ahead of his time is that guy, man?
So many warnings, man. Yeah. That last one was from July of 2001.
Statues to that dude. See, wherever they pulled down that statue of Saddam Hussein in Iraq, they should have just erected a Ron Paul statue.
Hey, since you're here, man, I got to say, it was a little over a year ago. The three of us went down to D.C., scooped you up, and we went to the Ron Paul Institute gathering there with Ron Paul and Thomas Massey. Who else was there? Kennedy was there. Man, who else? The judge, Napolitano.
He was great.
It was awesome. But I got to say, Anthony, you really saved the day, dude. It was my mission to just say thank you to Ron Paul that day and that he was my hero. And at the first intermission, everybody was going out to get a coffee. And Anthony, everybody was already out of the room except like Ron Paul, me, and Anthony and a couple of guys. And Anthony runs over, he goes, "Dave, we've got to go now." And he grabs me and we ran right up to Ron Paul. And he just didn't hesitate and was like, "Hey, man, I'm a huge fan. This is my friend Dave, blah, blah, blah." And you made that happen, man. Really appreciate that.
I didn't realize that I deserved so much credit. It's typical in life that I don't give myself enough credit.
Definitely pat yourself on the back for that one, dude.
And I missed it because I was one of those dudes that went to get coffee.
You got the bran muffin and the coffee, right? Yep. Exactly.
Coffee anytime, dude.
It's Ron Paul coffee. But he just did the conference again, and this one was entitled "Anatomy of a Police State," which this was like the same week that Dark Brandon goes before like the Sith and the Empire and declares to the world, unity except for Republicans. It was basically that speech. So I just thought it was, appropriate, and maybe we could talk about that speech a little bit since we missed last week. Dan, did you see much of that at all?
I didn't really watch the speech. I caught some recaps and
I watched the whole thing.
Did you? The imagery, that's what everybody was posting after that, which was unbelievable.
Anthony, did you catch any of that speech?
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let me give you just really quick, and I recommend it. It's only like 30 minutes long, but it was really a beautiful exercise in demonic Democrat doublespeak. It was a call for unity, and then in the next breath, but we just can't tolerate these extremist MAGA Republicans, and we have to use the power that we have to go after this threat. They don't respect democracy. They don't respect the Constitution. It was all doublespeak. complete, you know, these are the guys that want to burn everything down. And it was just something to behold. And yeah, I couldn't help but feel a little bit.
It's pretty powerful. That was absolutely the message. I did catch the beginning of it. I mean, and that's why he went to Independence Hall in Philly. Like, he starts out by saying, I came here tonight, where they drafted the Constitution, to tell you that it's under threat from everybody that doesn't agree with me.
Ronnie said, I strongly recommend watching that speech. It was his best yet. Fuck yeah, Ronnie, he was on fire. Look, if they're owning Dark Brandon and you are going for the tyrant thing, then you pulled it off, because it was terrifying. Even for an old crotchety corporatist like Joe Biden. Just the absolute worst. But yeah, man, I don't know. You think he'll run again?
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden, yeah. He says he's going to.
Is he? I don't think he is. He might be dead by then anyway.
He might be. But you know who is running?
Who is?
Well, who do you think?
I don't know.
I think that Donald Trump will be running for president again. Dan, what do you think?
How is he even alive? Like, why is it that he can pursue his lifestyle and diet, but if I have like a sandwich, I'm fucking racked with symptoms? That motherfucker can have a hamburger every single fucking day and be the president of the United States, and that's fine. But, you know, if I have a piece of cheese, I get eczema. It's so fucking... Did he get less of those injections than I... Oh, wait, sorry, you can't say that on fucking YouTube. Like, you know...
We are a World Health Organization compliant podcast, bro.
Correct. So maybe he just got more of those injections as a child than I did, and that's why he can tolerate all these foods that I can't.
I have a theory, and it's not popular within our circles. I think everybody is just absolutely convinced that Trump is an outsider from the system, and I'm not convinced.
Yeah, no, neither am I. Jesus Christ, he had the Clintons at his wedding. Hello?
He certainly did. And, you know, we don't talk about injections and things, but who pushed the injections and things harder than that guy did? Who closed church on Easter Sunday? You know, who gave out the first round of emergency orders?
How gullible are these people? I mean, look, there was a massive swelling of interest in libertarianism up until about 2015. I know, because I was a libertarian before that, and I saw the increase in interest in it. And then the alt-right comes along, and everyone goes, ah! You know, off with them, gets behind Trump. There you go. You just incorporated the opposition to the system into the fucking system. I mean, seriously, how gullible are these people? It's crazy.
He was just the loudest middle finger. So I think that's what attracted them.
Yeah, and
or he had the biggest stage, you know.
Did he decrease the size of the state? Wait, I think he passed the biggest budget ever in U.S. history twice in a row. Hello?
Right. No, I agree with you, dude. And I can identify with some of the right when it does feel good when Ben Shapiro owns the libs, right? Because they do suck. And that's funny to watch them get poked at, but it's not. It's like empty calories.
It's empty
right?
calories. Like, how are you moving the needle? Ben Shapiro goes and owns some lib at a university campus. It's like, great, you're a man in your 30s and you owned a 19-year-old. What do you want? A fucking medal? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, what is the deal with Ben Shapiro? He's like for drug prohibition, I think, and extremely pro-Israel, and like he's never seen a war that he didn't like. It's like
I'm with you. Yeah.
He's controlled opposition. He thinks it's totally okay to circumcise your baby. Fucking like, oh, it's okay because I'm religious. That gives me the right to cut off someone's genitals. Like, fuck. Oh, it's my choice. He's like he's an advocate of physically chastising children. It's like, go fuck off. Like, just fuck off to Israel. That's where you belong. Get out of the country. I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna try and big picture it here really quick. Because you said earlier in the show that the right, at least for the vast majority of our life, right, we associated the political right with order, right? So my fear is that when the pendulum swings back down,
I wouldn't give them that. I never said I associate the right with like that's.
Oh, okay.
Like, I said
maybe I heard that wrong.
When we were kids, right wing used to be synonymous with authoritarian.
Sure. Okay. But that isn't true though, right? That was a misconception. It's not.
Well, I mean, it's not really. I mean, that's traditionally what being right wing meant.
Right wing meant authoritarian, and left wing meant not authoritarian.
I didn't say that left wing meant not authoritarian. Left wing was more like, oh man, just do what you want, man. Just like, oh, just do what you want. Like, just don't hurt anyone. Like, just do whatever you want, man. Like, why is the government telling us what to do, man? Like, let's just do our own thing, bro. Whereas, no, cut your hair, get a job, stop fucking looking like a pussy, be responsible, right? Do it because daddy says so.
But that's order. That's not necessarily
conservative order, right?
So what the microcosm I'd like to use for it is chaos and order in the yin yang form, feminine energy, masculine energy.
Yeah, but that's just a right wing way of looking at it. Because a left winger would go say, "Hey, left winger, are you for chaos?" No, man, I don't want chaos, man. I just want everyone to get along. Like, that's what it used to be like. I don't think they would have said that they were against order. That's just, no one would say that. No one would say, yeah, I'm against order. That's not how they looked at it. That's like saying that being on the right is about order is obviously like a right wing way of framing it.
Okay. I still feel like the left wing energy is feminine energy and right wing energy is masculine energy. Is that fair? I know it's loose, but is that fair? You don't care for it. Fair enough. My point being was this, that I think that what the left is doing right now with making things so insane, so chaotic, like prodding everyone so much that the reaction that they are hoping, like that meme of the thing poking the stick, do a civil war, right? I think that that's really what they're trying to do to elicit the response. So you got a guy like Trump who's going, yeah, the weak, the socialist left, Nancy Pelosi, the communists, blah, blah, blah. He can do this and really, really energize the base. And by the time all this shit comes around, right, he won't have to do anything other than like promise, men and women's bathrooms again. No trans, and everybody will probably cheer. You know what I mean? But on the other side, he'll start executing drug dealers. Right? Like he'll move in a really authoritarian way, but it will be okay because it's in the name of America.
Okay.
So I want to share this clip with you because I think that while we're all looking at Biden and how dysfunctional and gross the left is, I think we might be ignoring the inevitable right-wing blowback. So let's check this out. I think this is pretty cool. I've always said I think Donald Trump has a lot more in common with President Xi than he does with us. So let's check this out.
A lot of times I'll say somebody's smart and the fake news will go, he called President Xi smart. He rules with an iron fist 1.5 billion people. Yeah, I'd say
1.5 billion. How does he do it?
Say he's smart. Wouldn't you say he's smart? So I'm with President Xi, and I got along with him very well. I mean, once COVID came, it was just so, but we made a great trade deal with him, helped our farmers, helped our manufacturers. But I'm with him.
Look at these people. This is Trump's crowd, absolutely silent. Oh, we helped our farmers. Come on, they're not even buying it.
And
they look
I
confused.
really had a great relationship with him.
Great one.
And then I asked him a question. I said, President, he's president for life, by the way. So I call him King. I say, King.
What do you call him? Donald Trump calls President Xi King. I like to call him King. He's president for life. So I call him King.
He said, but I am not king. I said, you are to me. You're president for life. It's the same thing.
He's so fucking
will be very soon.
Self-aggrandizing as well.
He's so what?
Self-aggrandizing in a completely shameless and non-self-aware way. Like, is he aware that whenever he talks, the underlying message of whatever he's saying is, I'm so fucking great. Check out how great I am. Like,
yeah.
That's the message behind literally everything he says.
Absolutely.
They're having another. By the way, do you notice a lot of ships are circling Taiwan? That wouldn't have happened either, by the way. But I said, President, could I ask you a very simple question? Do you have a drug problem? He looked at me like, what's wrong with that? No, of course not. He goes, no. He's like, what the hell stupid question is that? No. I said, you don't have a drug problem with 1.5 billion people.
He's so impressed that he rules with an iron fist over 1.5 billion people. He wants to compete with China by doing that.
His big problem is they make the drugs, they send them into our country. That's their problem.
Okay, so right after that, we won't play it, but that was Trump going full fasci, and just he goes on to say, I'm pushing Congress to execute drug dealers.
Yeah, but they'll only obviously execute the drug dealers who don't pay off the congressmen and the police, and that's
right.
That's a perfect deal for the rest of the rest of the drug dealers who are still alive, because now they have to compete on a free market. But here's the thing, one thing I agree with you absolutely 100% on Trump is like, it's the jury's completely fucking out whether he was good for. In fact, I think he's probably bad for liberty, if for no other reason than he completely fucking radicalized the left and made them even more apeshit than they already were. So if you think this is just controlled opposition, they pulled off a fucking excellent con job on all these people who thought he was the savior of our great republic. It's not really my great republic, but I like to think of myself as an honorary.
Yeah, you definitely are.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a weird thing, Trump. Like you said, it's false. It's not so great. The false categories of owning the false can't fucking speak, bro. Calories, the empty calories of owning the libs, if what it just does is make them fucking more rabid and more involved and have more energy and mobilize more to fucking take more than the ground that you think that you reclaimed from them. Yeah. Where the fuck did Dan go?
We lost Dan.
He's got to rejoin Medina Lake on a reunion tour.
I got to get those guys on the show someday. We'll have a reunion show. That'd be fun.
What do they have to say?
I haven't talked to those guys in a little while. We're on a little text chat. So once in a while we'll shoot a little message, but I think they're doing like a reunion show at some point. Vegas or something.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, I don't think Dan's going to be there. They got another drummer.
Oh, shit. Why? Oh, shit. He's fucking punked out. Why would you punk out of that if it's just a reunion show?
Well, they've been doing reunion shows for the past, a couple years, but Dan's, he's pieced out from that. Yeah, but they're all still tight. But if you are out there and you like emo rock music, you should go download some Medina Lake records and send my boy some checks. I think he still gets paid from that every couple months. So hook him up. Go buy some Medina Lake records.
Buy his records. Never mind from that era. Like, I know people still buy The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, but like, that's from the classic era. Like, who buys like music that came out between 2000 and 2010? Everyone's trying to forget that.
It was a dark period, a little bit, yeah.
Well, in some ways, I felt like there was a little bit of a return to form, since people who actually played their own instruments were in the charts quite a bit. Whereas, like prior to that, it was all like boy and girl bands. No one played an instrument.
Yeah, that was the worst. But man, I feel like at least 20 years ago, there were some new kinds of music coming out. I don't know if it's just because I'm old, but I feel like there's no new anything coming out.
It's become harder and harder to do something new. I mean, all the ground's been taken. But most of it's just like mixing genres, or like kind of like a callback to trying to put a modern twist on a already existing genre of music.
Yeah. Bro, Dan just texted me. He said his internet's down. I think he's got thunderstorm rolling through. So if we get him back, that's great. If not, we'll do it again. But dude, why don't we talk about your writings, your books a little bit?
Interesting.
What do you think? Let's talk about Sorry, let's talk about your first book real quick. Let's talk about Universal Basic Income, For and Against.
Okay.
Just a little bit, because I don't want to give anything away. But it was a good one, man. And I listened to a little bit of your Tom Woods week, or you were on Tom Woods' show for an entire week. I don't know how you pulled that off. You're one of only like maybe 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, it's a few more than that. Yeah, but I guess through sheer force of charisma and personality.
Hell yeah, dude.
A wide range of knowledge, almost to the point of geeky in a wide variety of subjects for no other reason than I can't stop putting information in my brain and then processing it.
It was a good book, man. And I like that, again, you and I kind of come from a culturally left maybe standpoint. So I like that it is for the left, in a lot of ways, right? Like those are the guys that need that message.
It's written to the left.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you
left.
You published this in 2019, right? Or 20
something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So
I lose track these days.
I feel like it was it was just starting to kind of come into the popular lexicon at that point, and Andrew Yang, as awful as he is, kind of brought that to the forefront. That was kind of like his thing.
Why hasn't it sold 100,000 copies? That's the question.
Exactly, right? Well, you got to stop giving it away for free on your website. But I guess my question is, have you rethought any of your positions, or have you, since COVID regime, have you adjusted anything, or like things just becomes so more clear, or like have you thought, oh wow, this is how they would implement it in some kind of...
One of the things about the book is I did make an argument that I didn't get from anyone else, which was the UBI could be used as a bludgeon to force people into compliance, because it starts as a UBI. Oh, everyone gets a UBI. But then it's like, oh, that guy dropped litter in the park. We don't want to send him to court and fine him because that will cost too much money for the state. But what we just do is we'll just like half his UBI for a month, and that will be his punishment, and that will save us a lot of money sending him through the courts. And people are like, yeah, fuck that guy. I mean, he dropped a cigarette in the park. What a douche. But then before long, it's like, oh, you can't say this on, the way they ban you. Like, now they don't just ban you from Twitter, you lose your UBI. So I better not say that. I better not say this. And they go, well, that guy's volunteering for a charity that we like. We should increase his UBI. And then this just becomes a method of incentivizing people to do whatever the state wants and be very compliant. And I hadn't heard that argument anywhere else. So I just wrote it as an essay for my UBI book. But since the COVID pandemic, I've heard people make that argument left and right. So either it's quite nice to, I don't know if I originated, I mean, they maybe came up with it independently. I just know that no one was thinking that way before, but the pandemic helped them and see that possibility. And it's kind of nice to be ahead of the curve sometime. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I can't say I've really rethought any of my positions, because I just feel like the book really holds up and people should still buy it because it's more relevant than ever. I didn't mean to become the UBI guy. Like, I just wrote that book because I wanted to write a book on poverty reduction from a libertarian perspective, because the left are always talking about poverty, and you can't beat something with nothing. So I did it as a jumping off point to discuss how the government makes people poor. And the book makes that case and shows and demonstrates it. And hopefully people who are into the universal basic income idea read it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really a specialist. I'm a generalist. I love to learn about everything. That's why I did a week on Tom Woods' show, and every day I covered a different topic because I know about tons of stuff. It just happens to be because I've not published another book on politics since writing that one, or economics. I've become the UBI guy for a while.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, I've always been against UBI as a libertarian. It's like, it seems pretty easy as a right-brained libertarian, just a guy who's maybe focused on economics and stuff, like, hey, this is not solvent, this will cost money, this will be whatever, and that all makes perfect sense. But when I hear you talk about, and I think this has maybe something to do with us being rooted in cultural leftism, right? That when I hear you speak about maybe the creative implications, like the human implications of UBI, that's really fascinating to me, because it really is dystopian. Like, if you just had, like, there's more to life than just getting plugged into the energy system to give you life, right? Like, you got to live, you got to go write stuff down and paint pictures and work with your hands, and if you don't, you'll just be nothing, right? It's kind of terrifying.
You've got to engage with the community, and like this idea that you should just gain an income independently of serving your fellow man is like not necessarily good for the human spirit. It's like just empty. Like you said, like, all right, yeah, maybe, like, oh yeah, I'm going to use my UBI to start a business, but you know, let's just party this month, or we'll do it next month because we've got another UBI next month. Like, no, just chill. Oh, I'm really tired from partying last month. Like, I think we should just like chill, like get our thoughts together. We can always do it next time, because that's not how it works when it's your own money that you earned. You know, you really think about how you're going to spend it because you had to work for it. But if you just get it wired into your bank account every month, you know, most people don't have the impetus. Most people don't value what they get for free. And it's the destruction of wealth, because under a market system, in order to gain money, you have to provide value to the wider community. When you disconnect income from providing value, I'm not saying that doesn't happen under the present system. Lots of people are rich without providing anything because they game the system. I'm willing to accept that. I think the point is that that's without the general principle that to gain wealth you have to create wealth, you're disincentivizing people from creating wealth. So in the long run, everyone's going to be worse off for it.
I think you're absolutely right, man. And yeah, I'm terrified about it. So I hope that I don't see that in my lifetime. Tell me about your new book, man.
Okay.
When's that dropping?
Yeah.
Remember, this is a World Health Organization compliant podcast.
I'm writing a book. I've been jumping from project to project. So people have often said, "Oh, I'm writing a book on this. I'm writing a book on that." But it's like, I have done tons of shit that's not released yet. So hopefully it'll come to fruition at some point. The good thing about this is when I started it, I just knew that this is the project I should be working on, and it's just been relentless ever since then. And it draws on a bunch of my incomplete projects that I've just taken bits from and developed and put together. So it's a book on bad science and bad economics in medicine and in healthcare. It's interesting because it's so relevant to the world we live in now, especially after the coronavirus. And I think people will be really, really, really interested to read it. In a sense, it's about how bad economic incentives necessarily lead to bad science, because people are profiting from bad science. So the title, I've not got a subtitle yet, but I've been flirting with quite a few. The title of the book is "None Dare Call It Quackery."
Right off the bat, I love it.
Yeah, it's just a funny title, and I'd like to get a front cover that's like a surgeon, you know, with a scalpel, like a cartoon of a surgeon with a scalpel and stethoscope, ready to cut into a body, and he's got the mask on, like the coronavirus mask, and just like behind the mask is like a duck's beak. You know, he's using the mask to the fact that he's a duck.
It's great.
Good image. So if anyone thinks they can do a good job, I've not put it out to tender yet, so maybe it could be you that does it. And the reason why it's called "None Dare Call It Quackery" is there's an ancient quote, not that ancient, that goes, "Treason doth never prosper. What is the reason? For if it prosper, none dare call it treason. So, you know, if you're the most successful gangster, you become the government. And similarly, because mainstream medicine is ascendant, whenever there's bad science in mainstream medicine, no one goes, "You're a bunch of quacks." It's only anything alternative that's called quackery. If there was something in medicine, if there's something in alternative medicine, if there was a treatment that cost the government or private insurance companies $250,000 and had a 3% success rate in extending someone's life by 5 years, the mainstream doctors would call it quackery. But that's chemo, and that's according to their own journals. So when you look at the amount of treatments that are taken off the market because they're dangerous every year, if it was anything in the sphere of alternative medicine, the Skeptic Society would be going after it, saying these guys are a bunch of fucking quacks. Like, they're killing people, they're charging people too much money, and that's all through the mainstream healthcare system. But no one says these guys are a bunch of quacks because they've got massive funding behind them. So it's exposing that double standard and showing how bad economics leads to that double standard. And it's also full of solutions, both on the social level, like how could we fix this by changes of policy, but also just how individuals can protect themselves from this bullshit and extricate themselves from that system. So that's one of the things I like about it. It would be great if we could apply the wisdom to the mainstream system and change it, but even if we can't, as individuals, there's quite a lot that we can do to at least minimize the impact of the corruption in the system upon us. So that's kind of interesting and quite exciting.
Excellent, man. And when do you expect the book to drop?
I want to have like a pre-release version in October, which will be a lot of the most important stuff so that people can enjoy it, read it, give me some feedback, and I can flog it at my speaking opportunities so that I can pay for my flights. Because, selling a few books really does help you get around America. And then maybe, hopefully that'll be out in October. If I don't manage that, it's not the end of the world, but I hope I will. Then, it's going to probably have a second edition 6 months later. So if you get the original release, that will become a limited edition version.
Well, I got to say, I was really impressed with the way that I don't know if you would call it an official book tour, but you pretty much did a book tour for about a year in America, following libertarian events and party events and things like that. And you just went where the crowd kind of went for a while. I thought that was really great, dude. And I know you're coming back to the area next month, right? Liberty Speaks Part 2.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
That's great, man.
People need to fly into Baltimore and come and see me. Shake my hand. Tell me about your life. I want to meet you guys.
Yeah. Anthony will be at Liberty Speaks 2. Get information for that. I think it's libertyspeaks.world. But Dr. Irene Mavroukakis is going for it again. That's a beautiful spirit.
Some amazing speakers. My friend Michael Rechtenwald, the former Marxist professor turned libertarian. Who else is speaking? There's some really awesome.
I know Spike will be there, and Karen Ann Harlos will be there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I'm not sure about. I think there's a couple maybe big name doctors that will be rolling through as well.
I really enjoy Spike Cohen. He's so passionate and he's so good in messaging. And I'm buddies with his wife as well. We exchange messages on WhatsApp every couple of weeks.
They're really great.
They're a really great couple.
Total power couple. Yeah, we had a nice breakfast. Remember at Wheelie's last year?
That your joint.
Yeah, nice powwow. It was great.
That was excellent. Yeah.
Dude, that about does it for us. Sorry we lost the co-host halfway through. Figured, that's a shame. I'm sure he would want to be here for it, but he was texting me through it. I'm sorry, dudes, I can't get back on.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've talked publicly about my forthcoming book. So I'm really excited to have that out. And like so far, I do think of everything I've done, it's like the most important thing I've done so far, hands out. Some of it, in my highly biased opinion, is off the charts as far as I'm concerned. Like, oh my god, this section is so fucking good. It's going to be high quality.
That's what I want to hear, dude. I want to hear you be real passionate about it. That's beautiful.
It's going to be badass.
I'm excited for you, man. Tell everybody where to find your stuff, where to download the book, and how to support you.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy the best, most up-to-date version of Universal Basic Income for and against from Amazon for a measly $10. You might as well buy 10 copies and hand them out to your leftist friends. That's what I wrote it for you to do. So if you don't hand it to your leftist friends, how are we going to change anyone's mind? That is, still have any friends after adopting your current positions. Best way to message me, Facebook, Twitter. I'm all over the place. You don't need my email address. You can find it. Just hit me up on Facebook. Unless I get banned, then we'll try another social media outlet. You can listen to Be Yourself and Love It podcast, a very good personal development podcast that I used to put out regularly, but it's gone on hiatus for a while. I try and offer up information that people can apply in their own lives to make their world a happier place. And I guess that's the critical details. Peace.
Dude, thank you so much, man. You're a beautiful spirit and a heck of a dude, and really fun to hang around with too, man.
I had such a great time hanging out with you. I'm not kidding. Like, we always had such a blast. It was really funny, and we laughed a lot. So
yeah,
if you don't come down to Liberty Speaks 2 to meet me, you should definitely come down to Liberty Speaks 2 to meet Dave. Hilarious guy. So until October.
Peace, bro.
Peace.
Thanks, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. The great and powerful Antony Sammeroff. What a guy. Oh, look who showed up last second. Irene Mavrikakis. The schedule is up on the website, libertyspeaks.world. Thanks for the shout out. Thrilled Antony's coming. That's another beautiful spirit right there. We love her. But guys, that's going to do it. Episode 33, the episode of enlightenment, is complete. We'll see you next time. All right? Peace.